Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about my home buying journey all the way from pre-approval, closing day to that first mortgage payment. So I hope you learned something along the way. I am the humble Henry. I am a high earner, not rich yet, here to humbly share my financial journey with you. So let's go ahead and dive in. I moved to Atlanta in 2020, and by 2022, I was flirting with the idea of home ownership. Around July of 2022, I got my first mortgage pre-approval for $400,000. Yes, don't know why they gave me that much money, but it was a little bit shocking. Seeing that my mortgage would be over $3,000 a month, the whole process started to feel a little bit unattainable for me. And so I just kind of put it in the back of my mind for a little bit and said, maybe I'll keep renting for a little bit, saving for a little bit, and revisit this in 2024. Sometimes pressing pause is going to be a really smart move. If you've watched my other video about deciding my home buying budget, do not rush is very much a part of that process. Looking back, I'm glad I gave myself the time to think through things, get a little bit more mature, and determine that I was ready to restart the process. Fast forward from July of 2022 to January of 2024, my lease is ending in September of 2024, and being the planner that I am, I figure it's go time. Let's try again with buying a process. So step one was finding a great real estate agent. I turned to Instagram and work friends to ask for referrals, and I researched dozens of names. I looked at their social media, looked at their reviews, and finally landed on an agent that came highly recommended by a coworker who had actually worked with her. It wasn't just her cousin. Let me say, she was a total gem in the process. We've got a whole video about her. Y'all already know. So we had our first call in like January, February, scheduled it on her website. It was super easy, which I loved, and we really just clicked. So she was super sharp, professional, and she even gave me tips like just from that consultation call that let me know she knew her stuff. At that point, I was feeling like, okay, this is gonna be the right fit for me. So when I told her, I just wanted to kind of get to know a few different agents before making my decision, but I'm not looking to buy until this summer, I thought she might be like, now why are you wasting my time? But no, she was of course very professional and said, not a problem, just send me your wish list. I'll go ahead and schedule a follow-up call for you and we'll pick up the conversation in a few months. And that's exactly what happened. So what I knew going into the process was like basically what I'd liked about specific apartments in the past. So I knew that I wanted, at least 2 bedrooms. My goal was at least 1.5 bathrooms, AKA I needed 2 toilets. I wanted a neighborhood that had like a decent level of walkability, good natural light. I wanted a way to access outside. So like either a patio or a balcony was super important to me. Having a bathtub, a lot of these new houses don't have bathtubs anymore. Child. And so these were some of the things that were on my wish list. There were also some nice to haves as far as like covered parking, and I wanted to do 2 full bathrooms versus 1.5 bathrooms, but really putting it in writing helped my agent to understand what I was looking for, and it helped me to stay the course while we were touring. Of course, your wish list can change. You might start touring places and being like, oh, I really actually need a dishwasher, or I really want hardwood floors, or I really want, crown molding. You can determine these things as you go, but again, you don't want to start from scratch. Like, go into the process with a wish list. So I made the wish list, I sent it to her, and then we had our follow-up call scheduled for April 1st. Now, because there was some work travel on my side, we ended up pushing it to May, but again, my lease was until September, so we had time. I wasn't too pressed about it. At that point, she introduced me to a lender that she trusted, and let me tell you, another rock star. I loved her referrals. So I got my second pre-approval, which came around May 28th, and this time it was for $325,000. So that felt a lot more realistic. I knew the numbers better. I had a little bit more saved. I had paid off my student loans by this time, so completely debt-free, and I just felt like I had my head on my shoulders a little bit better. From that pre-approval, things went super fast. So from May 28th to my closing day on July 11th, it was really only 6 weeks. So don't blink or you'll miss it, but I'm about to run through that whole process. In total, we toured about 12 to 15 different homes. Because I was looking at condos and townhouses, a lot of them were in the same complex. So that number might be higher, might be closer to 20, where she'd be like, oh, you know what, we can do this, this, and this while we're here. Between the ones that I looked at, I ended up making 3 offers. So one of them I ended up pulling out of because my agent and I randomly ran into somebody in the parking lot after touring the place that she knew from work. And so I got that lady's contact information and I was able to call her and talk to her about her experience there. Mind you, this was after I put in an offer because these houses were moving fast. I put in the offer. That lady told me all the stuff she had been going through. I said, and I backed out. The process of touring homes with my real estate agent, that for me, I gotta say, I didn't love it. I don't know. I think people get really excited about the touring part, but for me, it just felt like nothing was perfect. And I think I started to get frustrated with that in a while. Mind you, I had an amazing agent. So the properties that she showed me were so good, but it was like, I don't really like this way that this house is pointed. I don't like that it's facing the west. Or it'd be like, when we pulled up, like it was kind of a lot of dog poop around here. Like, do people not pick up their dog poop? Like, there's just all these things to consider. But I would say one of my biggest learnings from touring houses is that you don't want to get caught up on things that can change. Like, you don't want to walk in and be like, why is this house green? I don't want to live in a green living room. You can repaint the living room, right? But if you walk in and then you go in the bathroom and you're like, oh, there's no room for me to like stretch my arms out in the shower, that might be something you want to consider because you can't just easily make a bigger bathroom. So I would say definitely while you're touring, make sure that you know what you want, go back to that wish list and think about the things that could be changed versus the things that are truly the integral structure of the house. When I was touring my house, I knew that it was what I wanted for so many reasons. One, it was in a gated community, which I really appreciated, just like that extra level of safety. Two, it was so peaceful when I toured. Like, there wasn't a lot of noise, there wasn't a lot of craziness. There were some kids playing, but it was just like chill. Walked in and I got a townhouse. My agent will swear that I did not tell her I wanted a house with stairs in it. I thought I did, but if she say I didn't, I probably didn't. So a lot of the places we toured were like single level condos. So when we walked into a townhouse, I said, yes, I love it. My place has 2.5 bathrooms. So I got the 2 toilets that I was looking for. My master bathroom is so big and has a giant bathtub in it, which I love. I have tons of windows, so I get great natural light. I have a standalone kitchen, which I really like. Like, I feel like we just are so into open floor plans these days, but I really like that I have like a living room and I have a kitchen and I can open the window in my kitchen. So when I inevitably burn things, it doesn't have to just go throughout the whole house. So those were some of the things that I love. Things in my touring that I didn't love. The colors of the floors of my house, I said, we're gonna change that. But I wasn't gonna let the color of the floor keep me from buying the house because that's an easy change. I wasn't super into the carpet. And then of course, after I toured, I realized that the owners had a pet and I have like a really strong pet allergy to like pet dander. So I was kind of worried about that. But of course there's professional cleaning that I was able to utilize to help make my home not a death like threat for me. So yes, but new appliances, I really appreciated that. New AC, the furnace was working, good size patio. I love that my patio, you could put like a couch out there, as I've done, like a little sectional, like you can really host out there. I'm gonna grow some veggies and fruits this summer and different things like that. So those were some of the things that I saw in my house that helped me to know it was the right house for me. I was praying for wisdom the whole time. I really wanted God to be in the process and to give me guidance in the process. And I prayed that when we found the right place, that it would be smooth. So if it wasn't the right place, there was going to be friction, there's going to be frustration. But when it was the right place, it was going to be smooth. And I just asked God to make it clear to me when we were on the right path. And I really feel like that's what happened with my third offer. So found a spot that I loved, made that offer on June 22nd. And then 19 days later, we closed. Mind you, this July 11th date, it was significant to me. It was important to me because July 11th is my H.E.N.R.Y. But this was something I mentioned to my agent in May. So when we first started talking in May, I told her it would be cute, it would be nice if we closed on July 11th because that's my H.E.N.R.Y. Little did I know that these teams would be hustling to make that happen for me. So again, that for me was the power of having a great agent and a great lender. They like moved the sun and the moon to make sure that that happened to me. So super cool. So we've got house number 3. the house I live in now. And once the offer was accepted, we entered into due diligence. So this is the time where you get the home inspected. You get to decide if you want to back out or not after you get back the home inspection. And you also have to put down your earnest money, which is cash that your lender holds that goes towards your closing costs. So, or maybe your attorney holds it. Doesn't matter. It's gone. So, fun fact, I was actually traveling for work again during the time of my home inspection. My agent actually handled it without me, which is yet another reason to hire someone that is going to be someone you can fully trust. She even sent me pictures while I was away to make it feel like I was there. And then we took some time to go through the report afterwards so she could kind of match up for me what she saw versus what the person wrote down. So we got the home inspection back. Nothing in there made me feel like the house was, you know, in such bad shape or so terrible that I didn't want to move forward with buying it. And so we moved forward with the deal. And then came the paperwork, the mountains of paperwork. So when you get to the house buying process, you get your offer accepted by the seller, you get your home inspection, you're locked in. It's basically 1 million documents from there that you're going to sign. So there's disclosures, all this legal jargon. You pretty much sign your life away to the bank. Thankfully, a lot of this was able to be done over DocuSign because I absolutely would have cried if we had to do all of this at closing. But my agent would send me things, my lender would send me things, and I could just handle it from my phone. And then they would send me a copy of the signed document, which was amazing. So all of that signing happens, and then you meet with your closing attorney on your day of your official close, which for me was July 11th. And for some reason, it really resonated with me and like kind of stuck with me that this was actually the first time that I met or interacted at all with the seller, Patrick. I think my impression from watching TV was that buyers and sellers interact a lot. And like when you go tour, they're like there, like with fresh baked cookies trying to get you to buy their house. No, he was gone. And so this was our only interaction. And after signing the final forms, including a very sobering amortization schedule of the entire mortgage, which showed I'd be paying like over $1 million on this house over 30 years, I officially walked out as a homeowner. Except I didn't get the keys yet.
What?
And that was a little bit anticlimactic. Because we ended up closing so fast, I agreed to give the seller some extra time to move out. So technically I was a landlord for like 3 days. Please forgive me. But after closing, I literally went back to work like nothing happened. It was so sobering. Anyways, that's July 11th. We closed. I go back to work. I give the seller a couple extra days to move out. And then I actually got the keys on July 11th. So my agent and I showed up to the property. He's like hustling out his last few pieces of things. I find out where's my parking spots, where's my mailbox. You know, I go introduce myself to the concierge and all these different things. And then he handed over the keys. And that was when it really felt like mine. So it definitely made me a little bit teary-eyed, a little bit emotional. Like, of course, I bought my home in Atlanta, Georgia. I live here in the United States. And so just thinking about how momentous of a moment it is to be a young Black female homeowner, it really meant something to me. Like, not only is that just not something that has always been allowed for people that look like me and people in my lineage for who knows how many generations, but I'm definitely the first woman to own a home on her own in at least the last 4 generations and probably not before that. So it was really something that just resonated with me and something that I was like really proud of. So when I got those keys, I was like trying not to cry in front of this strange man. But that was July 13th. And then I got another realization of home ownership, which is that you don't actually have to start paying your mortgage right away, which is nice because I thought, dang, if I'm closing in July and my lease don't end until September, then I'm going to have all these months of paying a mortgage and a lease. And I was not excited about that, like a mortgage and rent. But in the closing process, you don't have to pay your mortgage for the remainder of that month or the next whole month. You actually start the month after that. So my first mortgage payment was not due until September, and I had prorated rent that month, so it kind of worked out. But truly seeing that money leave my account was when I felt like a homeowner. Looking back, I would say that the biggest lessons I learned were definitely take your time in the home buying process. Do not rush if you don't have to. There is so much to consider, and so you will want to be coming from a place of confidence and security when you're making those decisions and not like rushed and anxious. Get you a great agent and a great lender because they're going to be your partners in the process. And for me, I found them just extremely, extremely pivotal. You're going to want to trust your gut in the process. Listen to your intrinsics and just make sure you know what you really want, which goes back to that thing about having a wish list so you don't end up signing away on something that isn't even really what you want, but maybe other people convinced you to buy it. And then lastly, do not underestimate the power of prayer, preparation, and a little patience. Like truly, when I got my first offer, I declined it. My second offer, when I made it, the sellers actually had multiple offers from people that came in at the same day, so they rejected my offer. And I really had the nerve to get frustrated after 2 times being redirected, which is not that big. But again, I literally prayed to God and said, if it's smooth, I'll know it's from you. And if it don't work out, it doesn't work out. And so just keeping that in mind for me was great for me to just be able to navigate that process with a lot of confidence. So thank you all for coming on this journey with me. If you're thinking about buying your first home, I hope that this gave you a real unfiltered look at what it's like. I do have an upcoming video that I'm gonna make all about my first year of home ownership, what I learned, what mistakes I made, and what I would do differently. So definitely subscribe if you aren't already so that you don't have to miss that. And I really am just excited to keep talking about this journey with you guys. So please like, share, talk to me in the comments. Let me know what resonated with you or if you learned anything. And I'm gonna be back for you with more content soon. Bye.